What does it mean to you when someone says be a man?
I think today what it means is being emotionally intelligent, empathetic, being a leader, not just with your words, but also as by example.
And then what about the phrase, your worth is in your wallet?
Society says if you have no money, the world will be tough on people who don't have money. That's what society says, right?
Yeah.
So get your money up. That's why everybody says, get your money up, right? At what point does masculinity start to hurt?
I don't know, maybe I might be wrong, but I think statistically speaking, I think men commit suicide higher than women, you know? And it's because we're suffering in silence.
What does the healthy man, in your opinion, do?
Now the healthy version, and to maintain that, is, I think, in all aspects of our life, whether it's mental, spiritually, physically, it's like exercise.
Do you think you could be vulnerable and respected at the same time?
To the right person, yes. Because sometimes you deal with people that take your vulnerability and will use that against you. So I think to the right person, and you'll know, if someone ever uses your vulnerability against you, I don't think they're the right person to be in your life,
Let's flat out. Big teams, big boys, right? My highs and lows inherit growth, Mr. Deeds. Went from juggling 3 jobs to CEO like I'm Steve. Never been a rotten apple, call me John Appleseed. That's how I bleed. God can see no other man can judge me. Call him Mike, Mr. International, getting cream. Single mother told me worth, and now I'm worth everything. Went from Wall Street to Abu Dhabi, straight rolling in a Maserati with women that feel exotic. My life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement. Last
What's
flight
going
out,
on, man?
Flat out.
Welcome back to another New York City episode of the Last Flat Out podcast. We're your hosts, Mike and Jay. Hit that like button, hit that share button, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow us across all of our social media channels where we can be found at Last Flat Out Podcast. I'm your host, Jay. You can find me at JLubrio26 across all of my social media channels, and you can follow Mike at
If Mike Was Here. Welcome back to another episode, man. It feels good to be in the studio as always. This episode, we're going to talk about the modern man and its outdated perception of what a modern man is, from everything to, what is expected of us to perform, to provide, and sometimes suppress our emotions, So what does it mean to you when someone says be a man?
I think that's a complicated question depending on when you ask me that, right? I think today what it means is being emotionally intelligent, empathetic, being a leader, not just with your words, but also as by example, and being someone who is not only willing to lead, but also willing to be led and being comfortable in that, and also accepting the fact that you can't always be in the leadership position, right? I think that's one of the outdated.
I felt like you're telling us an updated version of now.
Yeah.
How was it then?
What was it then? Growing up? Be a man. Don't cry. Men don't show emotions. You got to work hard, bring the bacon home. You just put your feet up as soon as you get home. You don't deal with the kids, right? That is, I think, what an outdated version of what a man means, which clearly doesn't work anymore. At least from my perspective, doesn't work. And yeah, you still got to be successful in your own right. I don't think that changes, right? Like success and being, at the top of your craft. I mean, that's ageless. I think you should want that, man or woman, depending on whatever it is that you want. But I think that's what the outdated expectations, at least for me, meant. What about for you?
For myself, and once again, I want to set the tone. Like, this isn't a man bashing episode. We're not directing people on how they should be or what's correct. It's just our thoughts and opinions on just a topic of us just, growing in our careers, growing as individuals, growing through our, relationships and things like that. But, for me, being a man was, I guess, growing up was, like you said, holding in your emotions, being strong for everyone, not being able to say, what's hurting you. Like, you just got to deal with it and get over it,
Okay. And let me ask you a question. we both grew up in single parent households, right?
Yeah.
Did you have your dad around? Was he an active?
No, I didn't have my biological father around.
Yeah, right.
But I definitely had a father figure at some points.
Okay.
My stepdad, shout out to him.
Yeah, and that's where those were your first examples of manliness and manhood and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I think throughout, I guess, the different men that were in my life, they're good and bad things that I took with it, but yeah, it's so as far as that, and even, my mother, she had to raise her sons as, she had to be the mother and the father at times, and raise us tougher than she did with my sister, So, yeah, to me, that looks like, providing. That looks like, doing all the tough things around the house and all that, being that protector, that provider. And then I think today, what that's evolved to is, still being that protector, that provider, but then also, we're human and we have feelings as well. And I think being able to channel that energy in the right way, because I think a lot of times as men, we hold a lot of pain in, and that could come out in different ways and different vices, whether it's, through substance abuse, through addictions like gambling or sex addictions, that can come out in those ways.
Or being abusive towards other people.
Yeah.
Right? Because
exactly.
of how much you don't like yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've had to hold all these emotions in and you weren't able to be vulnerable. Like, I wasn't growing up, I don't feel like I was given the space to be able to balance my ambitions and trying to progress my career personally and professionally and being vulnerable and discussing how hard it was. It was like always, you got to suck it up. Life is tough. Life is hard, but your family and the people that you love should be a safety net for which you can be vulnerable with. And I think now we're in a modern era where there's a clash between the older generation, the newer generation, where we're allowed to express, hey, I didn't like that you did that. I didn't like this. And here's how I'm trying to be better as a parent or as a person. And they don't really want to hear that, especially the older guys, because they lack that emotional intelligence that I think everybody should have nowadays. And we're all getting better. I'm not saying I'm the most emotionally intelligent person in all situations. I do have my faults. I do have my downfalls. But I think that when I tell my child, be a man, is really translation just be a good human. Right? Like in today's society, in today's time, because you're gonna, I just don't want to singularly, like, men and women can effectively almost do the same thing. Yeah, it should be that way, right? It should be a counterbalance between, whether a man, whether if you're still into traditional gender roles, that's you, and if you and your partner and your spouse, whoever, decide to go down that route, then no one should tell you that's the wrong way to go.
Yeah, that's what works for you.
That's what works for you. I think today, for me, I think you're able to intermingle sort of the roles a little bit. That's just me personally.
Yeah. And then what about the phrase, your worth is in your wallet?
Like, what do I think about it?
Yeah, what do you think about it? Does that hold true?
I mean, that kind of holds true still today. I mean, like, look, like if we're gonna be honest, we can have our own individual thoughts, and then you can go by what's practically happening in the world. When you go to places like Maldives, Cannes, Monaco, South Africa, London, you get respected based upon your wallet in certain societies, right? In certain places that you want to go to. Whether you the man or the woman, you got the bread, you got the bread. You feel me?
Yeah.
You want to be the guy with the guns or the butter? Right? You know what I mean? So I always wanted butter in my pockets because I wanted to stay greased. But at the end of the day, like, I think that still holds weight practically, right? Like, you want to be successful. Your door. Now, money does open doors, not all doors.
And wait, granted, the destinations that you're saying, these are destinations people dream of.
And you're just going because you were just going for a 3-day week.
No, I know.
You feel me? Like,
so, like, can we break it down to what about just the everyday hard worker, that's
society,
under 6 figs or things like that.
I mean,
like,
society,
or the teacher that's making an honest living and doing great work, by the way. I think teachers should be getting paid more. If you're a teacher making $60,000 a year or something like that.
Again, you want my thoughts, or you want what society is dictating? What are you
your
asking?
thoughts and what you think
my thoughts are that the hardworking everyday person, man or woman, whether they are a doctor, a nurse, or some sort of social worker, they should be getting paid and compensated more because they're doing a grand service for the world on a whole, the world population. Society says if you have no money, the world will be tough on people who don't have money. That's what society says, right? Yeah. So get your money up. That's what everybody says. Get your money up, right? So what I'm saying is not breaking news here, hopefully, to anybody, right? Like, this is not anything that's like controversial. But at the end of the day, like, it's very hard for you to do anything. This podcast, traveling, fulfilling any one of your practical dreams without cash and resources. You need to either be rich in cash or rich in people resources, people willing to invest in you.
Yeah.
If you have neither, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you think when they say your worth is in your wallet?
I mean, I hope that's not where all my worth is. You know what I mean? I hope that's not solely what I'm looking at, or when someone wants to, invite me into their circle or invite me into their life, whether it's a relationship or things like that, they're not solely looking at what do you bring to the table financially. I understand it's a part of it. It's a part of that equation, but I hope it's not everything.
But let's stop right there. When you are, I think that's becoming such a large topic. Just hearing other people's dating experiences, like money is inevitably a very big factor in every single calculation that you do in life. And people who say that money doesn't matter, either you have so much of it where it truly doesn't matter, or you have very little of it and it really doesn't matter, right? But if you're somewhere in between, money matters for everything and it touches every aspect of your life, right? Have you ever lived with anybody?
No.
No, you never lived with anybody? So, have you ever, so you don't know the experience of, like, you guys are two income household, everything's going wild, and all of a sudden one person loses their job or bringing no money. Your lifestyle changes. How do you think that affects you mentally? If it goes on for years at a time, for a long period of time, it's all lovey-dovey, but when all of a sudden, when your lifestyle gets cramped, all of a sudden you're falling behind on your bills, your livelihood takes a hit. You could no longer maybe provide for your kids as much as you used to. Maybe you're not eating the same types of food. Think about all these repercussion effects that have nothing to do with money, but started because money was the root.
Yeah.
So for you to be like, money really doesn't matter in terms of other, no, it absolutely matters, right? Like, it absolutely matters, right?
Yeah,
like,
you can't negate it. You can't
is it the 100% of the calculation? Absolutely not. I would hope that you care about their personality, what they bring emotionally to the table, how much security that they bring. Do they understand you? Can they communicate? Are they able to resolve issues effectively? Those things matter.
Yeah.
But for me to be like, I want to be with somebody who doesn't have anything going for themselves. I don't care if they have everything else. If they're missing this, if they don't have anything going for themselves, now they don't have to be a super millionaire or make as much as how much I make, but they have to have something going for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I have to have a vision. And I want to believe this is the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. If you're choosing them for marriage, now if you're just choosing them to be a jump off, it doesn't really matter what they do. But I think that when you're in a relationship where you're choosing to have a partner, you want to be inspired by that person.
Yeah.
And inspiration usually equates to dollars sometimes, right? Based upon what inspiration, let me rephrase that. Usually if they're inspired and ambitious, they're doing something that will eventually make them money.
So we hear so many times, at least I hear, that men are intimidated by a woman that makes more than them. Do you like that, or do you not like that if a woman makes more than you?
I've dated one person who made significantly more than I did when I was younger. But this is when I was younger. She never made me feel any type of way.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of awkward when it'd be like, damn, you taking me to a place clearly I can't afford. All right. So clearly you're going to pull out the checkbook. We know that she knows that. Everyone knows that. But it feels weird because you're focused on everyone else looking at you almost, right? Like, damn.
Overall,
I'm the busting here. Yeah, it's more society.
But it was a group dinner?
It was a group dinner. It's just like you get very self-conscious in person. Be like, damn, like maybe it could be my birthday. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe you could But I just think that, like, I think because you put so much worth into what you can provide for people, that as a man, when you can no longer provide or can't provide in the way that you want to, it really messes with your self-esteem and your ego, right? And I just think that because it's been normalized. I'm not saying it's right. It's been normalized that, men pay on the first date, men do this, men do that, blah, 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 whatever it may be, right? There's not that same sort of like, I guess, feeling. Although I do appreciate when I am sitting across from a woman, she's like, yo, like, I got you, babe. Like, this is on me. That's great.
Yeah.
Right. But I have a sister, and every time, and this is my only reference point, and I have a mother, and I have a stepmom, and I have women in my life, and I have men.
Yeah.
When I'm introducing a woman to any of my men in my life, they never ask me, what does she do? They always ask, is she nice? They ask me like as the fifth question.
Okay.
My sister, right? If she's introducing a guy, or like when they're amongst my girl cousin, they always ask, so what does he do? All right. Like, what does he do?
Yeah.
Like in terms of like, what do you mean? What does he do? Are you asking from like, and they're associating, he's a doctor. He got bread, like, or whatever it is, right? But so like, I'm only saying this to kind of emphasize the point in that money really does matter.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can't hide away from it, but I just hate that it's become such a normalized topic in conversation, because it's a very uncomfortable conversation to have eventually with somebody.
Yeah.
What if you like somebody 3 months in and you find out they don't do nothing? Then what?
I mean, they don't even get that far though. Like,
right.
But I mean, for me, I always ask, like, when my boys, when they bring somebody new, I always ask them what they do, because the exterior, you can see, okay, she's a baddie, she looks good and all that. Like, so I'm not even, and I'm not going to comment on that. Your taste is your taste. I'm always asking, what does she do? Because then it's two-sided. It's, depending on what career, what industry she's in, that could tell a lot. Whether, she's a very creative person, she's a very thoughtful person. Whether if she's, if she's in the arts and all this, she's creative, she's grounded. That's an assumption I'll make. Or if she's a nurse or something, or a teacher, or, deals with kids, it's like, okay, she has that motherly figure or something like that. And the bonus, if she's a lawyer or a doctor, like, she got that. She look good, and she got that bread.
Let me tell you something. As a lawyer who's in corporate America, who's in big corporate law firms, any baddie who's a lawyer, she's already snatched up since law school. She ain't making it to her career. They're already all snatched up, bro. They're gone. They're done.
Guys know the investors. They're like, we're gonna lock it down real early.
You got some brains? Nah, they ain't like 10-year relationships, and they're off the market. Then you're dealing with scraps, and you don't want that.
Yeah.
But going back to what you asked me in terms of like a woman making more than me, that in today wouldn't bother me, because I would see it as an opportunity. Well, if she likes me, knowing everything's out on the table, this is someone I can learn from.
Yeah.
How could I get there? Right? How can I get to what you got? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, how can you inspire me? Because your network becomes your net worth after a while. You really don't really realize that until you're like later on in your life. And I wish that's something that I would have paid attention to when I was much younger.
Mm-hmm.
When you're around very successful people in whatever aspect you're looking for, something, monetary success, career success, emotional success, you're going to tend to adopt the habits of those people.
Yep.
Right. So I would take it as an opportunity. Like, this is not going to make me feel a certain way. And if she's rocking with you already, what does it matter? What does it matter what anybody thinks? Who cares? I'll be washing the dishes at home, babe. What do you need? You don't even rub your feet, like kiss your back. Like, what do you need? Right. But I think that, again, going back to the topic of this, the outdated perception is you're a man who makes less than a woman. You shouldn't be with her because you should feel bad about yourself. The new dated version of how I think about that situation is what I just said. How can I learn to be?
How can I learn? Yeah, exactly.
Right. So she's clearly with me for something else. So it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah. I mean, for myself, I've never been in that situation where a woman makes significantly more than me to feel that way. So I'm kind of upset at that. Like, I wanted to have those problems. I want to be able to be like, man, she was making so much. I was pissed. I don't think I would be pissed though, because I think in each level I was in, whether it was my first job and everything like that, I always dated people that were comparable, that were on my level. So it's like we had the same thing and all that. And me being a man is like, I'm I'm covering the basic things. But they're on my level where birthdays come around. It's like, all right, I know she gonna hold it down and not be worried, you know?
It's annoying on your birthday where they can't even hold it down on your birthday. Right?
Man.
One day of the year.
Yeah, that's
One
crazy.
of 365, babe. You couldn't get.
Yeah.
Nah,
You got to, man. On my birthday, that's when I don't touch a damn thing. My wallet is in my pocket. Matter of fact, my wallet's at home on my birthday. Like, I'm not paying for anything.
It makes me feel uncomfortable when I like that sometimes. But I think, so segue into that, like, you know, we're talking about modern man, traditional man, all this BS, and we're having fun with the topic. But like, at what point does masculinity start to hurt, do you think? Like, what, being this big man, I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
Have an uncle, Dominican Republic, never left the island. I mean, he went to other places, but he grew up on the island.
Yeah.
Died of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You know why he didn't get checked? Because he's a man. He can go through any pain. Well, being a man cost him his life.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's, being a man cost him having to go to the doctor, checking what was wrong with him, whether he had to get something put up his anal rectum, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, right? And check, hey, you're not doing well. You should get some help. But because he was a man, in the very traditional sense of toxic masculinity, it cost him his life. He left behind children. He left behind a widow. He left behind a business. So at what point does it hurt? Now, that's a very extreme example of how it hurts, right? But when do you think it starts hurting if you adopt this sort of toxic masculine image that once was traditional?
I mean, the most dangerous thing is a man suffering in silence, you know? And we've talked about it in the health episode we did with Bionic. It's, you know, men traditionally, or like, you know, in general, as a general statement, don't like to, you know, go to the doctor, get themselves checked out. I think now it's becoming more popular even to like get a therapist and, you know, speak on your mental health and things like that. And I don't know, maybe I might be wrong, but I think statistically speaking, I think men commit suicide higher than women, you know? And it's because we're suffering in silence. And I think, you know, hopefully this conversation helps to, you know, further evolve that change, that saying, I guess, what a man is, you know, and it's to, hey, we are emotional. It is okay to get help. It is okay to check on yourself. And I think some of my friends in our group chat, we've started, you know, hey, let's talk about health. You know, we're approaching our late 30s, early 40s, and it's like, yo, let's do all the tests, man. Hey, bro, did you know about this? You know, you should get your checked out. Like, let's talk about it. And, you know, let's not keep it a secret.
Yeah, suffering. I've definitely done my fair share of suffering in silence, for sure. And it was because I don't want to come up as weak. I don't want to come off as someone who looks like he breaks down. Well, if had I taken the break that I needed, I wouldn't have gotten to the point where I was treating people around me at the time so badly.
Yeah. And
it was really a reflection of how I felt about myself, lashing out on people, yelling at them. Bro, you see me now over the last year and a half.
You're been more calm.
I've been more calm, right? Like, I've been more calm. I've been more happy. Yeah. I've been more like, yo, whatever, let's not do this.
Or I feel like you catch yourself more now. You're like, yo, all right, this ain't important enough to like have an argument.
Yeah. I catch myself now.
Yeah.
I catch myself now. Well, one that has to do a lot with therapy, right? More consistent therapy. So thank God. Shout out to Sandy. And also, and shout out to BetterHelp too. Thank you. Yeah. But like, I think it has a lot to do with, I am more willing to be like, I am not okay right now. Mm-hmm. This is not the time for me to have this conversation. I will back out from it. I even tell my boy Alex, me and him, like, yo, like, if you know me and Alex love an argument. There's an argument that, if there's an argument that loves,
he seems super calm.
Hell no. That dude likes to argue about anything. If he believes that the water that is in front of you is blue, he will argue. He will try to convince you that it's blue. Thing about me is I'm a Scorpio. I'm like, that shit is water, bro. That shit's clear. Like, but he's a Leo. Mm-hmm. So those are naturally going to be competing all the time. Yeah. But even with him, and I'll give you him as an example, I'm much better to be like, look, bro, like, this is not worth us talking about. Me and him love going back and forth about the Knicks and the Lakers. Me and him love, and sometimes we be getting heated, and I'm just like, this is not even worth it. This is stupid. We're talking about a team we don't own. Like, this is stupid. So I'm now much more cognizant about me stepping away from things and me expressing, hey, I don't like the way you said that to me. Here's why. As opposed to before, like, oh, eat that in the chin. I'm a man. I'll take that. We're just cracking jokes. Sometimes some of the jokes you be somebody cracks is hurtful. Like, damn, you shouldn't be saying that again to me because that triggers me in a way that I don't want to be triggered, and that may have bad effects. Imagine if you said something to me. Imagine you personally, Mike, said something to me I didn't like multiple times, and then I punch you in the face because I don't like it. Then that's gonna be the end of this podcast, right? So instead of me like, yo, Mike, I really didn't like the way you said that. Let's just nip this in the butt. And let's like whatever. And I'm just giving an example. There's nothing that you said that's offended me, but that's an example of a man just being expressive about it. Be like, yo, man, you violated right there. Let's not. I'm gonna let this one pass because you didn't know.
Yeah.
As opposed to before, you just had to be cool. Like when kids are cracking jokes at the lunch table, you're going for jugglers at that point, right? Like you may be hurting somebody's feelings for real.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I've suffered in silence in terms of like not being happy in certain situations I was in and not being expressing that. Yeah. Whether it was where I was in my life, the person I was with, whoever it may have been, whatever. And then it just led to like me treating my family like shit. Me yelling at you a few times that we talked about, right? Like, so me being a man had a lot of bad effects where I was like, I could lose people around me if I don't get this really worked out and have a re-image or sort of re-perspective of what a man is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, but what about, I guess, kind of pivoting now, like now that there is health and there's therapy and there's sort of like help that you can get to sort of calm yourself down. What is the healthy man, in your opinion, do like on a day-to-day basis that can maintain that health in whatever aspect you think health needs to touch, whether psychologically, emotionally, physically?
Yeah. I think now the healthy version, and to maintain that is, I think in all aspects of our life, whether it's mental, spiritually, physically, it's like exercise. So I think what I've been trying to do more this year is just get closer to God, and get in touch with my spiritual side.
That's a man speaking that he's in the second half of his life.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not the
one. But yeah, it's true. Like, looking,
Father, for I have sinned.
Praying more, putting God in the center of my life more, definitely. And, working out, that's always there. I think sometimes as men, we kind of overcompensate and like, yeah, I'm gonna work this out. And if I look good, then that's it. Everything is fixed. And I think that's just external, which is important, but that's not everything, And then, yeah, just mentally as well, just being grounded. And I think sometimes being in silence and being in tune with your thoughts and how I'm feeling, I think that's been important.
Yeah. I think for me, a big part of it is embracing solitude. I think that's really helped me out a lot, but intentional solitude.
Yeah.
When I like to be in my apartment, just open the windows, hear the outside, have a good like lo-fi jazz R&B mix in the background, and just like watching my plants just sway from side to side, that brings me a lot of peace, right? Mm-hmm. And I think when you're at peace and equilibrium, you don't allow, when you know what that feels like, bro, you don't allow anyone to come and disrupt that. Yeah. That's why when I was telling you about certain messages I was getting before, while I was away, before we went on air, I didn't respond back because I was going to shake things up for no reason.
Yeah.
For no reason, no absolute reason in my life. Like there's some certain things that you should never engage in. And I think that the modern person who is truly trying to embrace being a better version of themselves, part of that is knowing when to just be like, you know what? I'm going to back myself out of this room because it's not even worth engaging or entering into the room.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people hold on because they're like, hold on to certain situations or bad situations because look, love, I understand love is great. Like love is a great feeling, but like love should not be a replacement, should never affect your mental well-being, make you feel anxious. Love shouldn't make you feel anxious, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
It shouldn't make you feel anxious. It shouldn't make you feel anxious. It shouldn't make you feel like, oh, I can't be myself. If I can't be myself, I can't be with you.
Yeah.
I used to feel like before, like, oh, I have to mold myself to be with this person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can compromise certain things. Like, all right, babe, we won't eat tuna no more. You're allergic to tuna. I can let go of tuna.
Yeah.
But if you really love tuna, don't be with somebody who's going to take tuna away from you, because once you take tuna away, you're not going to be happy anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
This is a dumbass example for me to be like, don't let somebody having to feel like you need to supplement your happiness by having to change.
Yeah.
Like who you are fundamentally as a person.
Yeah. I think kind of tapping into that as far as being stuck in situations, I think that's a sign of, you know, a person that's not healed or a person that's not mature enough. And I used to be really, really petty. Like if I was hurt and if I didn't express that, it would build up resentment. So I'd be like, no, I'm gonna stay in this because I want this person to feel the pain that I felt. And like,
that's messed up, dog. Like,
I know, but like, it's, you know, I could be petty sometimes, and like I've been working on it where I don't think I'm petty now, but like I used to be petty where I'm like, okay, like I'm hurting, yo, you gonna hurt too. We're gonna get even.
I mean,
I think that's the man up version. Like, all right, just suck it up, but make them feel your pain too. You know.
I guess the immature John was thinking like, oh, I'm gonna upgrade. Don't worry about it. I'm not on you as a person, but you fumbled this back at this. Oh baby, oh baby, and then I'm not gonna lie. There's some people I check back on. I'm like, oh okay.
Yeah.
All right, I made the right decision. Right? Like that's like, look, I don't think you'll ever fully be a perfect human being.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I'm only saying that to be funny, but like when I'm looking ahead, I don't look to the sides, I don't look back, except for like how far I've come, to check how far I've come. But I think part of letting go and being this new version of yourself, you cannot hold on to old resentments or old feelings. Mm-hmm. I think that goes, then that ties into being a traditional man where you can't express yourself, because when you hold all these feelings, you can't vent. How are you ever going to be in a place where you can allow new feelings to come and embrace those positive thoughts and emotions that allow you to embrace this new version of yourself that is going to be healthier, and not just for yourself, but for the people around you?
Yeah.
Right.
And then real quick, what are some of the positive role models or images or men that before you grew up idolizing, and how has that changed today? If you idolize anyone at all, if you're like, this is still my point.
I'm generally not a person who idolizes people in general. I don't have like celebrity idolizations. Like,
yeah,
I don't know why. I just never had that. There's some people that I admire, like, wow, that person does a lot of things. But like, yo, there's some people who really be going hard for certain people. But maybe much just, I'll start here. My dad.
Yeah.
Like my dad was a lot of my North Star, what it is to be like a man. So he's a lot similar to me. Like he keeps his crowd very, very small. Mm-hmm. He's very true to who he is as a person. Doesn't really change for anybody. This is for good or bad. This is who he is for his, even with his children. He's like that. This is who I am. Now, as I've gotten older, and I'm like, that's not really a good way of being, right? Because you have to be able to maneuver based upon the person that you're speaking to. Mm-hmm. So long as it's in a healthy boundary, right? Like you can't talk to my brother the same way you would talk to me, the same way that you would talk to Jennifer, who's my sister, or Alejandro, who's my little brother. You can't be like, this is who I am. You have to accept me for who you are. What I've learned in that situation is just like, all right, this is who you are. I know when to come to you for certain things, and I know when to talk to you about certain things, but I can't talk to you about everything because you're not willing to meet me halfway.
Yeah.
That's not his fault. That's the way he was raised. My grandma was a single mother who was raising 4 kids. She had to be tough. Therefore, the toughness went on them, and therefore they try to teach that upon us. But now with information, social media, and we know that stuff doesn't work, you have to learn to be better, right? So when I was younger, I took a lot of that. I have to be strong, no emotions. I have to provide. I have to be the man. I have to be responsible. All which is sometimes true in terms of like, you have to be responsible. You have to be, a man of your word. You have to be honest with yourself, and you have to uphold all of your responsibilities, no matter good or bad. But you have to also be willing to compromise, be able to meet somebody halfway.
Yeah.
Or else that may detriment a lot of your relationships that you have in your life. Right. So that's something that I've learned. And that's like the closest examples that I had. But I mean, I know you have some idols too that are currently on trial. So how's that going for you?
This is why I say it's important, fathers are important in the household. We're seeing a great example of that. Fathers are very important in the household. But, for myself personally, like not having that, it's you look at, and I think representation is important in what we see in the media and what we see on TV, what we see in different industries. Representation is very important because then you have young men of color, idolizing people that we think are doing a great job or that we think are exemplifying what a man is. And it's like, of course, growing up, you had, Michael Jordan, you had Jay-Z, you had Diddy and all that, but it's now come to fruition. Like, when we grow up, it's like, damn, these people aren't perfect. These people aren't the people that we want to become, And I think me, growing up and being mature and older, I'm past that stage of idolizing celebrities and all that.
I hope you are.
It's more so, learning from, what I want in life and the type of person I want to be, and just, every day working on to become that,
Now, do you think, let me ask you a question here. Do you think you could be vulnerable and respected at the same time?
To the right person, yes. Because sometimes you deal with people that take your vulnerability and will use that against you. So I think to the right person, and you'll know, if someone ever uses your vulnerability against you, I don't think they're the right person to be in your life,
It's a fine line. When you're vulnerable and seeking respect. Because vulnerability, like you said, to the wrong person can come off as, oh, he's a whiner, he's complaining, he's not about it. But when you're trying to be like, yo, I'm trying to get it, and I'm burning out a little bit here, I need a little bit of a back rub, that ain't a sign of weakness, right? Or from your friends, you need a little support. Like, it can't just be like, man up and do whatever. But yeah, there's some people who will take advantage of that for sure. Like, I've been around a lot of people who take advantage of you. If they know they can get to you, they'll use that vulnerability.
If they know your soft spot, and it's like, oh, this is what he's self-conscious of, and this is what, his insecurities are, they'll use that at the time when it's like, I'm not trying to hear that. Like, it's like,
Exactly. But I think it's always better to just express what's on your mind, so that I think transparency is the way to go.
Yeah.
In 2025 and beyond, because you keeping that inside is not going to help you or anybody else. You know what I mean? So I think it's just one of those things where you should just, hey, here's where the cards lie, and you need to have enough wherewithal and awareness to know if somebody's like taking it for granted or not. Right?
Yeah.
So, but I think to close it off in like the last segment of this topic, which I'm glad I went this direction, because I was expecting something else, but you never know with Mike, ladies and gentlemen. But what's something that, because we do have a young audience, sometimes that watches this show, what would you tell them now? Because they're like sponges, bro. Like, my little brother takes in everything, TikTok, IG, whatever.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that he says sometimes, I'm like, nah, that's OD. You're learning that on the internet, man, because you haven't heard that in his household for you to even say certain of those things. But I'm curious to know, like, one, what's something that you would tell people, like young people in general?
Okay.
And then two, what's something that you would have told your younger self? And I know we touched upon this in another episode, but like more so in the way of like telling your younger self what a man should really look like.
So in general, to young women and young men. So the first part, I would say you're enough. You are enough, and you have a lot to give the world. And believe it or not, like me as I'm in my 40s, I look for the younger generation as to what's next and, where are we going, and they are our future leaders, and and just believe in that, don't doubt yourself for a minute. And for our young gentlemen out there, as far as, what is a man today, or what's my idea of how a man should be? I think it's very individual, but I think some of the baseline principles of that is just always be about your word, be honest, be truthful, and just go after life.
And something, I'm going to switch the question a little bit for myself. Not Because I think you covered pretty much what I would tell my younger self and older. But what would I tell my older self? Like the 10-year older version of me. And I would hope that if I look back on this episode 10 years from now, I would think that you need to continually always be empathetic. You never know who's on the other side of any conversation that you're having and how your words may affect somebody, because words do have an effect on people. And I think that I have affected negatively people with my words before in the past, and I want to stop that. And that was a reflection of how I felt at the time.
Yeah.
Because I was hurt. I wanted those people to hurt too. I didn't actually think that, but that's pretty much what subconsciously I was trying to get at, right? Like, and for me to admit that all these years later and to be like, damn, like, there's so many things I could have fixed about myself back then. And yeah, I could have done this and I could have done that, but I can't live in the coulda, shoulda, woulda. I'm in the right now, and I know enough about myself to know, okay, these are the things that I don't like about myself. And these are things I'm constantly trying to change, which is difficult when you're trying to change a bad habit. People really underestimate that. People are like, oh, you can just change a bad habit. You've been like this for 20 plus years. You can't just do that over the course of a year or two. That requires constant, consistent, conscious thinking until it becomes an unconscious habit. So what I would tell myself is I hope that 10 years from now, you're much more empathetic. You don't give as much fucks about what people think, right, as you do right now. Maybe you even give less.
Yeah.
And you're finally in a place where you could be like, you know what, man? I may not be 100%, but I'm 95% of the way there. Right? Like that's really where I wish to get to. And I think it's 1% each day really adds a lot of compounding improvement over a long period of time.
That's a great message, man.
Yeah, right.
Don't give a fuck.
That's how it needs to be.
Yeah,
we can't care. Like, like honestly, you cannot care. You cannot allow people to consistently control and manipulate your emotions, your mentality by their actions. You have to, like you said, you have to know you're enough. You have to know you're a good person. And yeah, you may have done bad things to people before. You may have unintentionally hurt somebody, but that doesn't make you a bad person.
Exactly.
Right?
Forgive yourself.
You have to forgive yourself. And I haven't done that enough. I haven't forgiven myself for a lot of things yet, but I'm trying to get there.
All
right, man. So we're going to close it out there. For everybody who's interested, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. Again, you can follow us at Last 5 Hour Podcast across all of our social media channels. And you can follow me, Jay, at JLubriel26 across all of my social media accounts. And you can follow Mike at
If Mike Was Here.
Same time, same place next week. Thanks everybody for watching once again.
Right, peace.
Big teams, big boys, eh? My highs and lows, inherit growth, Mr. Deeds. Went from juggling 3 jobs to CEO like I'm Steve. Never been a rotten apple, call me John Appleseed. That's how I bleed. I can see no other man can judge me. Call him Mike, Mr. International, getting cream. Single mother told me worth, and now I'm worth everything.